Good morning. Welcome to our customer exclusive webinar, Collaborating with CORE. I'm Bethany Maddox, and I will be both your host and your presenter today. I serve VITEC primarily at the support desk. I also have the pleasure of managing our vision of customer care, helping to develop screencasts, present webinars, organize customer events, and to work on the development of the documents that help you use CORE. While we get started today, I would like to do a little bit of housekeeping. First, we will have questions and answers, of course, to those questions at the end of today's webinar. Please do send your questions to me using the questions section in your webinar control panel. Just send those as you think of them, and when we get to the end, we will round those up and answer as many as we can. Second, this webinar is being recorded today. We will post the recording of the webinar inside My Support on our website within 24 hours. Now, if you've registered for this webinar, then you probably have a My Support account. But if you have any trouble accessing the webinar, please do give me a call. You can reach me at the support desk and we'll lend a hand. So let's get going with our topic of collaborating with CORE. There are many ways to collaborate. You could use multiple workstations as shown here. You could have a server that serves as your master repository and maybe have a couple other workstations on the side that need to share data. You could have a workstation that serves as your master and then maybe another server. You might have multiple workstations in a server, 2 servers, one of which needs to be the master, or just 1 server. There's a lot of scenarios here, and basically any installation you have will work. Now, we recommend that all collaborative work be done in a CORE server. This is because it enables truly live collaboration all the time. When someone else changes something, it appears on my screen. I don't have to do anything to make that happen. I never have to worry if I have the latest version, and that is simply priceless for me and the collaboration among our team. Now, there are some barriers to this ideal setup. This might not work for you if you don't have the money in the budget for a CORE server. Maybe you have users across a wide area network. If you've used CORE server across the WAN, you know that it's not quite as performant as we'd like it to be. It works great on a LAN, and that's the environment we recommend it in. Or maybe you need 2 CORE servers. Any of these are reasons why the ideal scenario of 1 server and everybody accessing it live might not work for you all the time. The decision on your setup is entirely yours. But if you need advice, please do call me at the support desk. Our team is available to you to help you talk through this decision process and evaluate your options. Now, once you know your setup, the next decision is figuring out who will be your project administrator and in what location you will keep your master database. To put this decision into context, it helps to see a general view of the process. Shown here is an EFFBD that is included in our help files in CORE. This shows you the collaborative process, the inputs, the outputs, etc. Now, I actually prefer to see it in a sequence diagram for this purpose because you can easily determine who is doing what task. My favorite thing about the sequence diagram is the allocation to components. Now, the lifeline on the left shows administrative tasks only. This is the person and the data location we are defining at this stage. This person will be responsible for maintaining the master copy of the database, sending out baseline files, and receiving and merging change files back into the master. Once you've identified your project administrator, it's time to get things set up. The first thing you want to do is to create usernames for everyone on your project team. You see the screen from Administrative Tools. You just click the little man icon at the top to create a new user. If you'd like to create groups, you click the one just to the right of that with the 2 people, and that will create a group. You can then add members to those groups. Now, if your users fit into those nice groups that will have unique permission sets, go ahead and do that. Set up those groups and assign membership. Once you've set this up, export the users and groups and send those to your end users for them to import into their core installations. I'm going to be brief on the topic of users and groups today so that we can focus on collaboration. If you need to know more, then I suggest you go to the My Support on our website and take a look at my webinar recordings. There, you will find a webinar, Users, Groups, and Permissions in Core, where I dive deep into those topics and all of your options. After you've set up your users and groups, you are ready to set up your project. If you already have your project created, simply import the data to the desired location. If you don't, then you need to create the project. Next, you'll need to set up permissions. Take some time here to specify your permission structure. This is a critical step. We believe that team members should be granted right and/or administrative access only to the areas where they genuinely need it. Granting full access to the whole team can put you in a dangerous situation. I'd like to share a story with you that happened on our support desk not too long ago. I got a call from a user, and she stated her project had disappeared from the server. Now, I know a project can't just go away, so we did a little probing. I asked her some questions of what had been going on in their company in the last couple of days, any changes. It turned out that she had granted a new user project administrator privileges, which he quickly used to delete the project from the server. Ouch. Thankfully, she had exported the project just the day before, so we were able to quickly restore her data. She spent the rest of the afternoon updating her permission structure. Again, I'll be brief on the topic of permissions. If you need more information, go to My Support, refer to that webinar, Users, Groups, and Permissions. Our next step is to create our first baseline. Let's take another look at the process while we talk through it. Now, at this point, I'm going to talk exclusively about a scenario where all users are working in their own local repositories. There is no core server in this mix right now. As we wrap up today, I will walk you through a few variants, including one in which a core server is used. So we start by exporting a baseline. This is done by exporting the project using the project baseline option. This is almost exactly like a project backup. The only difference is that it sets a flag in the file. You'll send this file to your users, and when they import that file, the flag is raised. This flag says to core, track changes after this flag. Now keep this flag in mind. We're going to come back to it in a minute. Now everyone is ready to get to work. Users working in a local repository should save their work often. Now you have two options to do this. This is when you're working and it's time to go to lunch and you need to save your data, or at the end of the day and you're not yet ready to send your changes back. So your two options for saving as you go are to export an XML using the project backup option. It just makes a copy. Or you can use the save repository command, creating a C90 file. Personally, in this case, I would use the save repository command. That C90 file is just faster to open, easier to work with. You just put it right on your desktop, and it's great for that quick kind of work. It's also backed up when you create data in your local repository. Everything's also written to your backup log, which I can always help you with should you have any trouble with that C90 file. So this is really low risk. This is absolutely the way I would go, is the C90. Now when you've reached the end of your change file, all users send their change files back to the project administrator. This is represented on the screen by the green item icon, project change files, which is going to trigger the next step. To do this, in the export, you select the project database changes option. This is where that flag we talked about comes in. When you export changes, Core rewinds to the flag and outputs only the work we've done since the flag. There's no need to worry about what kind of change it was. All changes, new data, changing data, deleted data, it's all captured and output in a change file. Then you send your changes back to the administrator. The administrator is going to import the baseline and then import each one of the change files. This is going to create a new master project version. Now, we do suggest that the administrator at this point create a project backup and archive it. Then you simply repeat the entire cycle. Now, what if you have a core server? This process works and it's pretty close. So if you have a core server, we recommend that you designate it as your master repository. Go through the setup. So do your users and groups, send those out to the people who won't be working in the core server. Set up your project, export the baseline, same thing. Then the people who are working off the server, go about that process that we just talked about. It looks the same. The users in the server, just log in, do their work, log out, no change files, no need to save. The server does all that automatically for you. Now, when you've reached the end of your change cycle, your non-server users will need to create their change files, send them back in. Now, on the server, all I need to do is import all those change files and send out a new baseline. Now, what if I have 2 core servers? I'm working with this scenario with some customers right now. They've got 2 work groups, but they're geographically distributed a couple states away, although each group is co-located. So we've set up a system with 2 servers. We've set one of them to be the master and to contain the master project. Now, the server with the master project is just like the server in my last scenario. Second server that does not host the master project has to act more like a local. So on the second server, we're going to import the baseline. And then we're going to do our work. Again, at the end of the day, when people go out to lunch, there's no need to save, export anything, just work, log out. When you reach the end of your change cycle, you export changes from this server and send that change file back to the master server. And that gets imported and a new baseline sent out. Now here's the trick, this next step. On that second server, delete the old project. And then when you get a new baseline from the master server, you import it and go again. If you have a scenario that you would like to see me build one of these images for, please do ask me. I would be happy to customize this for you. If you have a unique scenario that this doesn't quite meet your need, it'll only take a minute and I can detail that for you. Okay, that wraps up our content for today, and we are ready to move on to questions. Now at this point I see just one question in the queue, so I'll pause, give you just a moment. If you'd like to add a question, go ahead and do that now. Now, the one question I have already is from Adam. And Adam asks, if I'm the project admin and I'm also working in core, do I need to export a change file? It's a great question, Adam. And there's a couple different ways you can go about this. If you really like very pure roles and you want to put on your project administrator hat and do that work and then take it off, and then put on your systems engineer hat, do that work and take it off. In that case, I would say yes. Take your hats off, do your work, send your change files back, do your project administrator work. But is there necessarily a need to? And the answer to that is no. Just as when we talked about in this scenario, where when you have a core server that no change files are ever really needed, if I'm the project administrator and I'm working in my local repository, I can act like that. I can just do my work and then import all the change files in, and send out a new baseline. That is okay. So there's two answers, yes or no, depending on your preference. Well, I don't see any more questions come in, so it must have been very clear in the information that I offered today. Again, if you have any questions that come up later in the next day or so, please do call our support desk. That phone number is 540-951-3999, or you can email me, and that email address is support@vitechcorp.com. After the webinar closes, you will get a survey on your screen. We would greatly appreciate it if you would take just a moment to give us a little bit of feedback on how we're doing with our customer exclusive webinars. And if you have an idea for a topic you'd like to see me cover, please do include that information in the survey. Thank you. Have a great day.